Because governance, good governance or governance is about making provisions for the well-being of the people, providing those things that the people need to be comfortable, isn't it?
Yeah, basic governance.
So that is the essence of governance. So the first thing to do is the economy. When the economy is good, people are employed, engaged, and they have access to financing, you can't talk about security without the economy. So the economy first. Employment, and there are many things that could be done to ensure that the economy is stable or appreciates or gets better every year. Like for example, the banks must become banks.
True.
Nigerian banks are not. If Nigerian banks were to be like banks in other countries, instead of just looking at the interest of the shareholders and directors, where they make 300 billion every year profit, a bank or banks that are into lending across board, 1 digit interest rate, for example, that will also keep the inflation rate 1 digit, and everything will work. So the economy is the engine room for good health facilities. Because if the economy is good, they will build good hospitals. They will employ good doctors. If the economy is good, there will be less crisis. Because if you are employed and you have a set means to buy cars or means to go on holiday once a year, the tendency that you are not going to be thinking about crime. So that on its own will bring down crime. With a good economy, everything becomes affordable. And you can only do so much as an individual. When the economy is good, everything becomes affordable. Of course, I'm talking about the basic needs. Housing, for example. If you know how Nigerians live in squalor, you weep for this country. A good housing policy will encourage builders, architects, construction companies into mass building of houses. And when that happens, it's either you sell, and to sell, of course, the finance sector will come in, insurance companies, banks, they all come in. But more importantly, when you're building, you're creating jobs, because who are the builders? The plasterers, the masons, the carpenters. So that sector alone could create jobs. The government will say, okay, you know what? We want to build 5 million houses. Where are the construction companies? Let CBN can provide some funding, backed by the government, guaranteed by the government. And they know that they are building for the people, because even those who are unemployed, they can make provision for them. The local government can buy some of those houses and then give it to them. Give it to them free of charge until they become employed. When they become employed, they move to the one that they have been able to buy. Because once you start to work, you will not be entitled to such government housing program. But you're going to think, how do you help all these guys who don't have jobs? How do you make them to feel dignified, that they're human beings as well, instead of living in 10 people in one room or some kind of squalor? Help them. We can't do that. We can do that in Nigeria. So it's that, look, the economy is the answer. if I were to present from Nigeria, there are many things I would do. My malaria eradication project, for example,
Yes, I
will in 4 years, you will see a difference in every sector because one, I'm going to invest heavily in researches for vaccines, so we're going to save lives. The first thing, save lives. You know. Two, the environment is critical in ensuring that mosquitoes don't thrive. So clean up the environment, appoint health inspectors everywhere, make sure people don't dump refuse anywhere else, but take them to recycling centers. In every local government area of this country, there will be a recycling center, or at least you can start with one in every senatorial district. So there will be 109 recycling plants. Those plants will create no less than 5 million jobs. Because as they collect refuse, they don't take them to all these dumps anymore. Take them to those centers. They recycle. They play like, have three major functions. The first one is recycling basic things like plastics, bottles, papers, and they have the middle plant that will produce manures and fertilizers for farmers. Then you have the one that will generate power. So each of those plants can generate nothing less than 200 megawatts of electricity. 200 megawatts times 200 by 109. It's over 20,000. I'm sure. What is that? Yeah.
21,000.
21,000. Okay. 21,000 megawatts. Nigeria currently will have 4,000. So every day you have problems with the power supply because the power supply is not, they're sharing, they're just trying to manage. It's not their fault, it's just that we're not generating enough. So you can imagine now with this project alone, generating 21,000 megawatts. Added to another, the 4 that we have, that's 25. Our power problem is solved. Of course, that will affect people like you, because Mecano will go on because you're selling generators. But think of the nation first. Think of the people first. Mecano, I'm sure they are very creative. They can look at other ways of
definitely.
Alternative energy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
Do you understand this?
I don't think they mind.
So you can imagine something like that's working. But it has to work through an agency. Because Nigerians were not organized to allow Ministry of Health, Ministry of Power, Ministry of Environment, and others to start coordinating. No, you must create an agency and bring experts from these ministries together. Say, look, here is your work for you for the next 5 years. There's a plan. You know, your plan is to encourage researchers into vaccines. Your plan is to work on environmental issues. Your plan is to make sure that we have these plants established in every senatorial district. However, it's done maybe private and public partnership. There are solutions.
Wow, that's a massive.
Yeah, but it's doable. When I visited the United Nations, one of the guys that spoke there from Italy told me that what I just spoke about was what was done in Italy in 1937. In 1937, they still had malaria, they still had mosquitoes. But Mussolini built recycling plants. Mussolini fumigated the entire country. That was what made Italy within 3 years to become malaria free.
Oh, wow.
We can do it. Malaria is not part of us, neither are mosquitoes. Mosquitoes don't play any useful role. So we shouldn't cry to get rid of them. Okay?
Thank you so much, Nancy.
Okay, these are comments.
Thank you so much.